He's kind-hearted and wise, and likes to help the younger engines by giving them advice and keeping them in order. One day, Thomas was helping out at the main line and stopped at the junction to talk to Duke. The old engine would often tell Thomas stories about what the railway used to be like, back in the days when he was a young engine. Duke often referred to these as the good old days. As they were chatting, Gordon rushed past with the express. Thomas called cheekily to him. "Beep, beep. Hello, fat face." "Really, Thomas, you shouldn't talk to a senior engine like that. In my day, the younger engines weren't as cheeky as you are now. They knew their place and worked hard. We didn't have time for fun and mischief, not like you youngsters today. There were rules for everything and we had to obey them. We had to work together and help one another. And we had to do just as we were told. Otherwise, they'd have been trouble." "Oh?" said Thomas. "I don't like the sound of that. It sounds like the bad old days to me. It's better now without so many rules. I do work very hard, Duke. I'm never late, but I do like to have some fun too." "You can have some fun without being cheeky," Duke scolded. "I'm having fun on Sunday when I take the special picnic train up to the lake. The summer visitors love it, and I know all the best places for picnics." "Phew," Thomas chuckled. "It's a tough run up to that lake, Duke. I've heard it's uphill all the way. Will you manage it?" "Of course I will. I may be old, young Thomas, but I've still got plenty of steam left in my boiler. I can still show you younger engines a thing or two about pulling trains." But on Sunday afternoon, when Thomas was taking trucks to the works, he was surprised to find Duke in the repair shed looking sad. "It's my old valves, Thomas. They're leaking and steam is escaping." "Don't worry, Duke. The men will mend you, and you'll be as good as new in no time." "But not in time to pull the picnic train tomorrow," Duke said sadly. He didn't want to let the visitors down. "Can't one of the other engines take it for you?" asked Thomas. "I can't just let any engine pull my train, Thomas. The picnic train is special." "What about Renius? He'd look after the passengers well." "He's a good engine, but Renius is prone to breaking down. The thing controller suggested Duncan, but he's already got too much work." "What about Sir Handel? He learned a lot from you when he worked with you on your old line." "But he can be bad-tempered and impatient, Thomas. It would never suit his grace if he upset my friends on the picnic train." Thomas fought hard, and there in the yard was the very engine. "Peter Sam could do it," Thomas suggested gleefully. "I know he teases you about being old, but he's friendly and a hard-working engine who looks up to you." Peter Sam was flattered. "Of course I'll run the picnic train for you, Grandpuff." Peter Sam was as good as his word, and enjoyed pulling the picnic train up to the lake. Duke told him all the best places to take the visitors, and they had a splendid time. And when he got back that evening, Duke was waiting with brand new valves and feeling as good as new. "Thank you both for your help," he said proudly. "You two young engines have shown how we should all work together and help each other. It's just like the good old days."
The train, for its type, is the most powerful vehicle on land. And the engines of Sodor are the power behind the docks, industries and branch lines that make up the world-renowned North Western Railway. These are the stories of Sodor. In order for a vehicle, faceless or non-faceless, to have a long serviceable career, it needs regular maintenance. I once mentioned that an advantage we non-faceless vehicles have is our ability to inform technicians of a specific problem we might have. This eliminates the need for them to find it first and makes the process that much quicker. I've also mentioned that we can feel pain. So, how do we tolerate the repair process when it so often involves cutting, welding, and sometimes dismemberment? The answer is a chemical agent known simply as green water. The anesthetic of non-faceless vehicles, it's introduced to our systems at the start of any repair session and puts us into a deep sleep. And the only way to wake us up after ingesting green water is to ignite whatever form of combustion it is that powers us. Or, in the case of non-faceless rolling stock, simply give them a push. How do you feel, Cassandra? Much better, thank you, Skarloey. These new wheels feel delightful. I can't wait to put them to the test. And we can't wait to have you back in service. We've missed you about the line, and so have the passengers. And I've certainly missed all of you. I won't stand for this. Well, most of you. It isn't fair. Do I dare to ask what today's complaint is, Duncan? I just found out the Franks and Son munitions factory is being relocated to Krosny Kern. Really? That's a surprise. When did that happen? I don't know, but it's a rubbish arrangement. Why? Because, in addition to building them a new factory, we'll have to move any equipment they bring with them. So, you're moaning because we're going to be busy? We're overworked as it is, especially me. And you can be sure I'll get lumbered with all the horrid jobs. Horrid jobs for a horrid engine. Shut it, you rolling barn. I rest my case. I plan on telling the manager my thoughts when I next see him. In your usual manner, I take it. Skarloey, I'm a plain-speaking engine and I believe in plain speaking. And I'm willing to wager that will go about as well as every other time you've been direct. Skarloey was right, of course. Duncan did indeed tell the SKR's manager his thoughts on the matter, in his regular, abrasive way, and was promptly given a tongue lashing for it. He was indeed given the undesirable jobs throughout much of the project, so I guess he was right. As to the construction itself, I should provide some background before going any further. Going back to my story about the boulder for a moment, you may recall how it slid down from its resting place outside of Wellsworth to block the main line. You probably also remember how it was removed thanks to Mr. Billy Shoepack from the Franks and Son munitions factory located at Brendam. I'm sorry to say there were consequences to this action. I'll start with the obvious one. The track had been replaced by a flaming crater. With the main line literally cut in half, much of Sodor's rail traffic ground to a halt. Even though the repairs were given top priority and were carried out day and night, it still took over a week to finish. A severe backlog of work developed in that time, and it took us nearly 2 weeks to catch up. Franks and Son also suffered because of their employees' brashness. They were held accountable and had to pay for the repairs to the main line. This put a severe dent in their finances, and they had to lay off a large swathe of their staff. It should come as no surprise that Billy was among them. I almost feel sorry for him because, in addition to losing his job, he also got 2 years in prison on a number of charges. Franks and Son tried to carry on with the limited resources they had, but they finally decided to downsize their operations and would move to the riverside town of Krosny Kern on the Skarloey Railway. The construction and relocation went well. The middies delivered machinery and other supplies to the SKR, whose engines took it up and down their little line. For the rest of winter and early spring, the quartet of engines worked, finally completing the project on March 16, 1939. Well, we've done a fine job of this, if I do say so myself. I agree. I think this business will do wonders for our line. And our first shipment will be going out this time tomorrow. The lads are positively chuffed that we've got dedicated vans to transport the explosives in. They certainly look sturdy. Steel-enforced vans, I take it? Aye. Said to be strong enough to contain an explosion in the event of an accident. Let's just hope none of us ever find out just how effective they are. I'll second that, especially since Duncan is taking the first load. Oh dear. In that case, I'll be sure to stay well away from him. I feel like that all the time. Very good, Ivo. Very good. I'd best be off. I have a lot to... Ouch! Rheneas, what's wrong? Nothing. Just a little stiff. I don't think stiffness is meant to sound like grinding metal. When was the last time you had maintenance? I'm fine, Ivo. You can't remember, can you? It was 8 months ago at most. What? Why have you put it off for so long? It wasn't exactly by choice, Ivo. This project has taken up a lot of our time. You really should head back to Croven's Gate. I can't. I've got a full day ahead of me. Then let me help you. I'll be all right. This isn't the first time I've had problems, but they always clear up once I get moving. All right. Just promise me you'll go in for repairs soon. I'll go tomorrow. All right. Just